Good. So this is going to be the first episode of New Tunes. Got Ed Webster and his new album, Quiet Conversations, released just last week, was it?
Yeah, a week ago today.
Week ago today. Wow, hot off the
Oh
press.
yeah, one week anniversary.
How you doing? How is you feeling at the release? You uploaded it by yourself?
Yeah, managed to do it. No, well, few IT problems. It was great.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, I mean it's good. Happy that it's there and can listen to it. So it's all going rather well, I think.
Yeah, nice one. All right. So do you want to tell us a bit about your musical background? So your influences.
Um, that is a good question. I think kind of a little bit. It's so cliche to say, but a little bit of everything. Like things I listen to maybe aren't necessarily directly shown in the things that I make, but I listen to a lot of there's like the folky side of things, and that like the one album I've listened to most of the past year or two is definitely that Noah Khan album. I listen to that so
Yeah.
much. I think that's definitely impacts the things I write at the moment. Um, but I listen to a lot of my favorite band is Rise Against, which is post punk kind of quite loud music,
Yeah.
but obviously which is in quite severe contrast to the album. But it's yeah, I absolutely love it. So it's kind of a little bit of everything, and then obviously you got the pop tunes. Can't go wrong with a little bit of cheesy pop. Just incredible.
Pop
And yeah,
fromage.
prop oh, pop fromage.
That's what they call it in La France. Yeah, that's good. I mean, I feel like you can definitely hear some of that in Frostbite.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the the thing about Frostbite is it came from the riff. So I wrote the riff. We were sort of trying to rip off a Jimi Hendrix style kind of thing, which I think is fairly clear. And then the lyrics mean nothing. Like it's the one song on the album where the lyrics mean absolutely nothing. Like when we used to play it, like for the first few shows, I just made them up on stage. Like they're not what it was.
Yeah, because do you
Um,
want to? So this is one of two songs in the album that's credited not just to you, right? So do you want to tell us a little bit about
yeah,
that?
yeah. So it all comes from while we were at uni, the bands that I played in. So there's a few, but the two that have songs on the album is Average Speed Check and Shoulder to Shoulder. So Average Speed Check is sort of a kind of like a classic rock band, loud. We performed shirtless. I think tells you enough of what you need to know about it. But um, that song, we were kind of underprepared, but it kind of fed into the aesthetic almost.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's lyrics to one song, and then we had to play like four or five songs each time. And the lyrics to, like one of them. The rest of them we just sort of made up as we were going. But the other song, Shoulder to Shoulder, was Icebergs, which obviously you know about because you are in Shoulder to Shoulder. But it's that one's more thought through. I think it's fair to say lyrically. But that's a sea shanty because
Yeah, I mean,
Shoulder to Shoulder was a sea shanty band.
you say that, but that was fairly thrown together as well.
Oh,
Because I
that's
believe
true.
the origins are interesting for that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's no delicate way to put it. I wrote it whilst I was having a poo. Um, so I was on the toilet and the guy who put the band together, Robbie, who actually produced the album, he sent a message to our group chat when we were sort of starting it with like a playlist of the songs. And I was listening to it. I was like, oh, this is good. So I sort of it's just like a compilation of sort of like a gym song. So I listened to the playlist like half an hour. And I was like, yeah, I can do one of these, and then wrote the first verse, chorus, think verse of Icebergs. Yeah, just all on the same course of a toilet trip. So I think you can be creative wherever you want to be. I think it's
Yeah,
takeaway from that.
yeah. It's arguably the best song on the album as well. You
I
know,
mean, you wrote some of it. In fairness.
I did. I always forget that I wrote that verse because
Yeah, yeah,
that was also not exactly laboured over.
No, it's just I didn't want to finish it. I couldn't be asked.
It's mainly a collective effort of about 5 minutes, I think. Was the yeah.
Yeah, I think honestly that song in total, for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes spent on it, like the whole thing.
Mm.
It's good
I
though.
think you spent more time recording it. Um,
Oh god, yeah, we
than
spent a lot of time recording.
yeah,
Spent a lot of time recording, but it was fun. I mean, his room. So we recorded it in Robbie's room, and it was the top floor of this like townhouse where he was living at uni at the time, and it was like summer. It was May, June, July. So it was really, really hot, and all the heat rose up. So it must have been like 35, 40 degrees in that room. And we were just recording on repeat for like hours. It was diabolical. It was so warm.
yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. I mean, so do you want to tell us a little bit about Robbie?
Oh, so Robbie, Bobbles as his friends call him, he is the producer of the album. He was in Shoulder to Shoulder. He's the forming member of Shoulder to Shoulder. Like he is his band. Um, he was in the big part of the band society at Warwick Uni, which is where we met, and he he produced the whole thing. He recorded the whole thing. He basically did all the hard parts of the album. I sort of rocked up and did the bits I needed to do and wrote the songs, but he did like all the actual mixings and stuff. And then so I was away a lot of the past year, and whilst I've just been off gallivanting, he has actually put together this album and made it sound good. So big props to Robbie.
Yeah, nice one. So, what's your favorite track to play on the album? Play live, I mean, not just stick on in the shower.
I, yeah, you know I listen to it in the show, of course, of course. What else are you gonna listen to? But I think to play live, the one that's always been the most fun for me is Twilight. I think it's the best song. It's by far the best song on the album. Um, it is a bit long, but like I thought about trying to make a shorter version of it, but it just like I don't know what I would cut out of it. That's the problem.
Mm.
There's nothing easy to cut, so it has to be 7 minutes long, which seems on the surface a little.
Is it really 7 minutes?
Yeah, it's like
It's like
7:50.
5.
No, it's like 5 until the build, and then the build's like like 1:20, and then there's the outro.
Is
It's
is a really great ending that track.
it really is. I think this last, it's like two songs merged into one, but it is that the ending of that is I think my favorite thing on the whole album. Just that
Mm.
last 2 minutes. Um, we worked hard on that, just making it sound huge. That was kind of the aim, was to have the huge build into then so like slow, so it builds up from just vocals and guitar all the way up to like that big crescendo, and then it like hard cuts into the outro, which is just again vocals and guitar, and we just want that hard cut because sort of the whole song is the story of this relationship that's started from childhood and gone all the way through to the end of one of their lives, and it's that whole story coming to like a head. So that crescendo and then the cut off is kind of like symbolizing the end of the relationship and obviously
Yeah.
the end of this person's life. And it's um I think it's one of those things that the music actually just mirrors what the lyrics are saying,
Yeah,
which
definitely.
is I'm very happy with how it's turned out. But playing that live and doing that big build live, um, was quite special, especially when there was like a lot of us on stage because we had like 7 in the band at one point, and doing that with all those people making as much noise as possible and then hard cutting was just incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't heard that version until it came out, and I remember just
Did you
messaging
not?
Robbie when I heard it because I was I think I listened to it over 2 days on the way to and from work, and
Yeah,
just getting to that bit, and I was like, oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I hadn't got to that bit yet. Yeah, and I just
yeah,
messaged Robbie being like, oh, good job. Sounds nice. Because you guys
right.
did that just before you left, right?
Yeah, so I think it might have actually been the weekend before I left. So I went to Vietnam for like 3.5 months to teach English. and then after that, I went to America for 3 months to go and work at a summer camp.
And teach English.
So, I mean, well, they knew English. They knew English. But it was, yeah, it was a long time I was away. So I was away for like 7 months total. And the weekend before, I went down to Robbie to be like, okay, we need to like do all the bits that need to be recorded so that we can like put it together whilst I'm away. So we're in his room for I think like 2 days, just fairly solidly. I don't think like hours and hours at a time. But we got it and we got it done, which is good. But like we spent so much time on this thing, which is weird now that it's out because what we recorded in started the recordings in May 2023 and it's now September 2024. So
Yeah,
it's been
yeah,
well over a year.
yeah. Because the aspiration was to get out this time last year.
Yeah, that was always hopeful. I think I didn't realize it at the time, but that was quite hopeful. I forgot that life just gets in the way. People are busy and things happen, and it's yeah. You sometimes forget that all this stuff just gets in the way, and people have jobs and all that kind of stuff. But
We have jobs now. Didn't at the time.
no, I think we're all kind of sick of it though, like because we spent 2 months recording this thing every single day, like for this whole time, for hours a day, doing stuff on it and just working on it. I think everyone was just sick of it because there's so many people who worked on this thing, but I think Robbie was the only one who was there for all of it. Because I remember there was some bits. I remember I was away for one of the recording sessions. I think it was the one with Peter. I wasn't there for that one.
Peter
I was
Jones.
in London. Yeah, the greatest guitarist I've ever met in my entire life. Yeah, he went and did it whilst I was in London, and then I came back and he dropped this absolute gold mine of just everything you could ever want on these tracks, like all the like face melting guitar stuff. That's it. He's just unreal, and he just like improv'd it as well, which is the crazy part. I wish I was him.
I think he wrote the solo for
Oh, he did, yeah,
Dawnbreak.
for Dawnbreak.
I think he planned
Yeah,
that
he
one out
did.
a little more, but yeah.
He did. So he sent, okay, so yeah, he planned that. He wrote that beforehand, because he sent the MIDI through, and it's even on like, MIDI doesn't always sound that great, but even MIDI'd out, it sounded insane. Then he actually played it, and the recording is just immense. Yeah, but I think the Switchblade stuff is just off the scale. Just some of the stuff he just came up with. I couldn't play it if you gave me 1,000 hours. Could not play it. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to talk? Because there was a few collaborators on that, so we touched on Shoulder to Shoulder, and then Average Speed Check, who makes an appearance on Frostbite. Do you want to talk a little bit? There was a few other people I think who worked on it.
Yeah, I don't want to leave anybody out. So everyone in Speed Check, everyone Shoulder to Shoulder. Although, did you even record parts for the song?
I can't remember whether, like, listen when it came out. Had a little listen to Icebergs, and I can't remember if that's you or me. Robbie,
I think the bass.
I think
is me.
I think it's you. There was a little bit where I was like, oh, that does sound a little bit like me, but I think it's you.
I think it's me. I can't remember what it was. There's something. I don't know why you didn't do it.
There was one note that I could only not do when we were recording. When we played it live, I could do it, and then there was one and it just never got done.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I ended up doing it because I don't know. I can't really remember, but
sounds great.
But you wrote some of it. Yeah, it sounds good. When you listen to that vocal line in Isolation, which just like the low part, it does not sound that good. But when it's like sort of hidden with everything else, it's kind of fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Ed Watson from Feed the Mammoth did bass on Switchblades.
Did he?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
That's why it sounds so good. Yeah, no, he smashed it, and then he did bass on another song that actually got cut from the album. There were three that got cut.
Which one?
To the Moon.
Did he have a bass for that?
Yeah, he put bass on that. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, but
I don't remember having heard that.
yeah, it's like, well, it's kind of a mess. That's why it's not on the album. It's kind of just in a state. Like it's sat on the. I don't think it's on Google Drive anymore. I don't think there's any like.
It had a lot of
record
potential. It was, yeah.
It did. Maybe we'll come back to it later, but like, not now.
Because we
Yeah,
played it
it's just-
live. I remember you taught us it live, and it was an interesting experience. That.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that performance. That was not that good.
They
I
were all
don't-
pretty good. but-
Yeah, it was fine. There's, so there's those performances because when we played together, that band, we kind of never really practiced. So it's a lot of sort of tell people what it is, and then them just sort of play it on the day, having not practiced it before. That happened when we played Wickfest in 2023. I remember I told Nathan about the Dawnbreak drums, and he didn't practice it with us. He just played them on the day.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we had. I think I was playing them when we were practicing.
yeah. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was that's definitely not the way to do live performances unrehearsed in front of an audience, but
I think
it actually went really well.
Out of all the projects we did that were unrehearsed, I think that was the most successful.
Yeah, there were a few that were less successful.
Yeah.
But we won't
Well, I mean,
talk about it.
technically, Shoulder to Shoulder is the most successful unrehearsed band, maybe in history.
Oh, to be fair though,
Just walked into a
Oh.
festival.
our rehearsals, right? So with the shoulder to shoulder sessions, what we do so is me, Noah, Robbie, and Joe, Joe Crusher, who is incredible.
Yeah, and appears a few times on this album. I remember noticing him, I think, on Twilight as well.
Yeah, he's on Twilight, Wide Eyed. He plays the violin.
Maybe it was Wide
And
Eyes.
he's obviously
There was one that
on-
I noticed the violin line, and I was like, that is mega.
I think it's Wide Eyed. I'm not sure if he's on Twilight actually.
I think he is a little bit.
He might
but
be.
I think
He
it was
might
Wide
be. I
Eyes is
can't
what I was
remember.
thinking of. But yeah, go on.
Wide Eyes when he's quite big, and also Dad Gad. He's on Dad Gad. Oh no, sorry. Floating. Forgot. We changed his name. But yeah, so we go to Robbie's house, and this would be like a 6-hour practice session, right? And we'd get there, and then we sort of play around on the instruments like 15 minutes, and then we'd start watching telly, and then we'd have dinner, but like we'd cook dinner together, or like get a big takeaway. Do you remember the time we got a takeaway, but from like 3 different takeaways, and we had like a
Yeah.
little, little like parade around Leamington, and then we'd go back and watch more telly, and then we'd like do more practicing. But in total, it must have been like we practiced like half an hour, 40 minutes in those 6-hour things.
Yeah, if that. And I mean,
Yeah.
even the way we played that festival was on tour. If you remember, on tour in Sheffield, when we
What?
Maybe you were with us. I think you were just very tired. We were sitting in the room before we got shouted at by the hotel.
Oh
And,
yeah, I forgot about that.
and we saw because Godiva Festival had just posted the applications for it, or it was the deadline for it. I think it was the
Yeah.
deadline because we'd all been messing around and not paying attention. So we were all doing it on that night, doing those applications. And so I submitted one for the band I was touring with, and then I also submitted one for Shoulder to Shoulder because I was like, be funny. That was like the Hail Mary.
How we got it.
And out of all the people in that room who like pretty much everyone in Bandstock submitted for that thing, I think. Or at least a lot of people did. A lot of people ended up going through the Battle of the Bands system that they had to get a spot at there. Unless that was the year later. But anyway, no, the way we got it was just we applied, and I think they had a lot of rappers on that. But I think they were just like, they would be a fun novelty act of like pirate costumes.
They actually loved it though. That was actually so
was
much
great.
fun. Like,
Yeah.
we just got free entry to Godiva Festival because we played. Oh, we even play that long because the set got cut short, so it was like 10, 15 minutes max, maybe 10.
Yeah.
We just
Fun day there.
Oh, it was a
We
great
saw
day.
that pirate
Yeah.
metal band.
What? Was it? Have I just not been paying attention at any of this? I don't
I
remember
think they
that.
weren't technically a pirate metal band, but they sounded like it.
Oh, I think I vaguely have some recollection. I remember some what on the main stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Soon to be adorned by
I
Mel B.
No, it's Mel C, and we didn't even stay. It's the other one. We went back. We went home and had dinner. I can't remember. Yeah, we didn't seem to stay for that. It was fun though. Yeah,
Well,
we
because we were
rocked
going
up
on
and
holiday the next day.
were we?
Pretty sure.
Oh God.
Something like that.
Oh yeah, it was the weekend before, wasn't it? Oh God. I forgot about that. I've really
Yeah.
forgotten all of this. Yeah, we were off to Malaga the next day for like 5 days.
Yeah.
Oh. Also, there's a great story from that trip. So Robbie makes another appearance. On the way back from Malaga, we're driving on some motorway up from. Cause we came from, I think it was like Gatwick, so south of London, and we as we were coming up past London, I think probably the M25. Robbie starts needing a wee, like really badly. I've never seen a man like more desperate for anything in his
Listen,
entire
if you
life.
put a double kick under that man's feet, he would
Oh,
have
world records would be
64th
broken.
notes. No problem.
It was one of those times where it's like I just wanted to say something or just anything, but I knew that if I said anything or even just laughed, that he would break. Just break this poor man who's driving us back from this airport at like
Driving us
1 o'clock
back,
in the
producing
morning.
your album for free.
Yeah,
Just everything.
just I was like, I can't break him.
To the
And
man
then
who
we
gives
got
you
to
everything,
the
what can you
station.
give him? A wet
Silence.
seat.
In that moment,
Yes, silence.
silence. For a brief period of silence, but soon resumed with talking once he'd relieved himself. Not in the car, which is what we love to hear. But honestly, one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen in my entire life was just that one moment of just. Well, it wasn't. It was like half an hour because there were no services for ages. But yeah. Well, I don't know. Oh yeah, Godiva. But yeah, he was right at the end of our time at uni. It was the end of our third year, so we graduated not that long after that.
Yeah, because I remember you sort of had a vision for how you wanted this album to sort of fit in the context of what was going on around us and the conditions that we
Yeah.
were making it in.
Yeah, I think it was kind of meant to be almost like a snapshot into life up to that point. So I started writing songs when I was like 14, I think. And when we recorded the album, I was 21. Which is like, and the first song on the album, like chronologically of when I wrote it, was "Someone You Wish You Knew." That was written just before I came to uni, so I was like 18. So there's 3 years worth of songs have been picked from. I mean, if you look at the whole time, I guess it's 7, but the first 3, 4 years were kind of trash. But you're looking at like 3 years worth of songs, and they kind of sort of show a snapshot into what it was like to live at that time and sort of be that age and sort of how you feel and just different things that have happened over that period of time, and it's a nice little time capsule of that to be reminded of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially lots of the ones we ended up playing live. Sort of be interesting to look back on in a few years.
Yeah, I think that's the nice thing is that because you can look back in it and probably be like, okay, this wasn't as big of a deal as I thought it was at the time, or this probably was more of a big deal than I thought it was at the time. But it's nice to have them in like a song form because I guess it's more of like a personal thing to me. Is each one represents like a moment or a feeling that I then wrote about, and I can sort of attribute each of them to something like an event or period of time.
Yeah.
But I think in a more general sense of the people who listen to it, it's very much a case of they will have like, I guess, just sort of a rough idea of what it's like to. Well, I mean, they probably already know, but it's what it's like to live from that age of sort of 18 to 21 of just trying to find your place in the world and all the sort of trials and tribulations that come along with that. Because, yeah, I mean, what, we're 22 now, it's kind of nearly 23, and it's not got. I still have no idea, but I guess that's for the next album.
Yeah, and I feel like as well, it's a good encapsulation of that scene that we were living in, of
Yeah,
very often, sort of underground artists would talk about the scene that they came from, and I'm sure we'll go on to be a part of a bigger scene than that. But the Bandsuck scene there that became very insular, to the extent that there's 2 songs on this album with other bands in. The crossover between them is fairly large, and then the crossover of those players on other things and other projects that we had together is fairly extensive. Just how inbred that whole scene got, which sort of resulted in a lot of this album.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just a mess if you look at it, like in terms of who was where. I remember in the Battle of the Bands, I don't know how many times were you in it. I was in it 4 times. You must have been in it about the same.
Yeah, well, I was only in it the 1 year. You were in 2 years, 3 years.
I guess 3. Yeah. Well, the last one didn't really count. That was kind of just.
No, that's true. You're only in it once.
But the first, yeah, true. The first year was sort of how I got into it, because I didn't know anyone in the society, and then I was like, I know a good way to make friends is to get up on stage, which I've not really done before, and sing 50 minutes. Didn't realize that I'd be absolutely terrified out of my brain the whole time.
I think that first year had the most magic.
Yeah.
Like, both for you and also for everyone. Like, I think the bad ones were all bad, but the people who were really great and sort of captured something had a real sort of magic to them. You, Aressa, Ben Needle, I think, was in that year.
Yeah.
In terms of sort of solo artists, you guys sort of captured into an excitement, a re-exploration of live music after COVID that was like really exciting.
Yeah, I remember Aressa was in the same heat as me, and she was on last, and I remember just like standing there, actually physically crying at some of her songs because they were just so moving. It was so strange. 'Cause I think it's been, as you say, like post-COVID as well. Live music hadn't really been part of anyone's lives for such a long time, and then to come back and have that all, that experience, which is unlike anything else. Like live music can't be replicated.
And I think even the first time doing it as well.
Yeah, that feeling, the first few times you play live, in terms of, like, from the artist side of things, is unlike anything. The high you feel after those first few performances, it's kind of sad because it does kind of go away after a while. Like
you do have to chase bigger highs.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But you do sort of come on stage and you're like, oh, that was good. But I remember the first time the first few times I played, I was like coming off and I was physically shaking. Like not from like nerves or anything, just from sheer adrenaline. And I don't think I felt quite like that since. Do you remember it was the one where we were at Casbah, a nightclub in Coventry.
Yeah, so this was an event that I got shoehorned with organising. Because I was the advocate for the acoustic. My unofficial title. And so I there was some discussions about setting up a Casbah. It was this club in Coventry, and we did gigs with them. Basically, what happened is they'd booked this. What was she called?
I can't even remember.
India. something.
No, no, it wasn't her. It wasn't her.
Was that?
She
That was a
like,
different one. Oh,
that was a different one.
I
She was
forget what
good.
she was called. Anyway, she was this. I'm hesitant to say paid for pop star, but she came in with a team and she'd been promised that she could have this gig on the Monday night, and the owner of the bar, he sort of hadn't really planned the whole thing. So he came to us because we were used to doing gigs there and was like, right, we need people to fill up because she's only got like a 30-minute set or something. We need people around her to pack out this night because otherwise she's going to be on for 30 minutes and then it's just not going to be worth the sound engineer and everything. So they offered, and so I got saddled with doing this whole thing. I think I volunteered, but I basically did this whole event. And so there was you, singer called Kim Sum, who I think was her first time. There was, I forget his name. Really great Spanish player.
Oh god, is it James Tulip?
James Tulip. He was a lot of fun, James Tulip.
He was good. He was funny.
Yeah. And then you and this girl who, for life of me I can't remember. She came in with a producer. It was a whole thing. They had
a thing. Yeah, it's a thing.
And she was alright. She wasn't bad,
She was
but
like fun.
But this whole event had been created around it, and it was acoustic act in a nightclub during the busiest club night.
Yeah, because that is the night. The Monday is the night.
The Monday's the student night, so
so it's rammed.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be rammed.
It was kind of rammed. It was busy.
It was rammed at a certain point. So So we had the 3 acts. I think I forget the agreement that was made, but for some reason she wasn't the last one on.
No, she was second to last.
And that wasn't a decision we made. That was told to us. As much as I love you, I didn't fight to have you on last. But they said we need a headliner, and so Ed was the headliner, and so we had this whole event. She sort of gets a mediocre response, given that music was a lot closer to the actual vibe of the whole night. It was surprising how minimal response she got.
Her singing, whereas the rest of us were acoustic guitars and vocals, and that's it.
Yeah,
but she had like full backing tracks.
And then you came out for the final night, for the final set of the night, and if you want to take it away.
I mean, so I came on, and my initial plan was to do sort of original cover, and sort of like that. And then, so I played the first one, it was original, it's fine. And there's like, at this point, there's barely anyone there, because, no one's going to sit down and listen to original songs.
It's about 11 o'clock at night by this point.
No, it's midnight. It was midnight.
Did you go on at midnight?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Cause I remember, because I was like, who goes on at midnight? Like, goes on. But yeah, I started at midnight, and like half an hour was the aim? Half an hour, 35 minutes? I think it ended up being 35. But so, and then I played the first cover, and like people started to stay, and people were coming in and like actually like staying. So I was like, oh, okay. So I played more of the covers, and by the end of it, there was like a pretty big crowd.
You'd run out, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
You'd run out of songs, and you were like,
I ran out of songs. Yeah, because I sort of hit time.
Try and remember some more.
Yeah, I hit the so I hit half an hour. I finished my last song dead on half an hour, and I was like, oh, awesome! Like did it right. And then it was very, because the last one was Teenage Dirtbag, and I still got, it's one of my favorite moments of performing ever, because when I got the crowd to sing the High Girl part, which I always do because I can't do it, but it looks like crowd engagement. It's just actually I physically can't, but it goes down well. But that time especially, it was like, given the audience, given where we were and what was actually playing, it was just an acoustic set, but to get people so on board was awesome. And then I think then they were chanting one more song, so I played another song which didn't go down as well. I should have left it at the one that I finished on initially, but I think I played Careless Whisper after that, but it wasn't as good as Teenage Dirtbag. But yeah, I think that was one of the best performances like I've done.
Yeah, that was a good night.
It was. It
Yeah.
was a really good night.
Yeah. So bringing it back to the album, what did you feel like the most underrated song on it is?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, it depends in terms of what. I think for me, I quite like lyrically the stuff on the albums. I think lyrically the most underrated one is probably Nobody Knocks, because I think it tells a story. It's not a story that's mine. It came from this interview I heard. I can't remember what it was from. I mean, like LBC maybe, but it was like a clip from that, and it was just this guy on the phone. Um, he's an older guy, and he was calling in, being like, "There's, I don't have any money, basically for the bills because it was when bills went right up and it was cost of living, and he was like, I just don't have the money for it, and like no one comes and checks on me, and nobody like talks to me anymore, and it's just all this kind of stuff, and he sort of came off the back of that into it. I think after hearing that, it was like an hour, and then it was written. But I think some of the lyrics in that are definitely some of my favorites in the whole project.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I think that was maybe my favorite one to play when we played that live.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as well. Like it was actually like musically, it's quite interesting. The
Mm.
bass line's sick. I think it was by Tom wrote that. Tom Giles wrote that, which
Yeah. Does
was
he play it? I forget whether he played it or Robbie played it.
I think Robbie played it, but he wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that was I think that's what the recorded version. I think that's definitely what carries it, like on the music side of things. But it's that's definitely one of my favorites. I'm trying to think what else is even on it. I think Twilight is my favorite, but I think that's also like, well rated.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Nobody Knocks is probably underrated.
Yeah. There's Someone You Wish You Knew. I think we were. I feel like there was a few songs like this, and I feel like we were a bit hesitant about them. And I think that's maybe my. It's the one I've listened to the most since it
Yeah,
came out.
I think that one's that's a strange one for me because it's the oldest one. So I wrote it like what 4 years ago now, and it's very much like I said before. Like, they all remind me of moments. That one's a very clear moment for me, and it's one of those because when we were picking the songs, I remember we had a list of like 20 songs, I think, from that I'd sort of narrowed down to okay, it's going to be made up of these 20. We need to narrow it down to like an actual more concise number before we start recording. I remember sitting with you and Robbie and doing this, and we went through, and that was one of the maybes that ended up being recorded. Uh, but yeah, I'm glad it's on there. I think it's nice to have an acoustic song, like a fully just acoustic song.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that. It wasn't. The production was. It had other stuff on it, and then right at the end, because the other stuff didn't really work. It was fine, but I think it
Yeah,
could
I don't really remember
definitely
having
sound
heard this.
better.
What was it like?
There's like a cello in there, and there was. I think there might have been bass as well as a cello, and it was like not much else, but it was too much.
Yeah.
For the song that it is, I think it's just too much. It's nice as it is with just guitar and vocals.
Mm-hmm. It's a really nice track. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I remember you were in America, and Robbie kept on sort of sending you through things. Then you dropped floating without
Yeah.
telling anyone.
Yeah.
We just looked on Spotify one day, and there it was. We were like, "Fair play." Uh,
Yeah. I mean,
Just interesting.
I just hate promotion.
I know.
I
I
absolutely
got the
detest
sense
it.
that you were just like, I just want to put something out, and so
I
you
was kind
just
of like,
dropped
I
it.
kind of want to listen to him. Like,
Kind of just want to
everything
stop
is
using Google
iconic.
Drive to listen to my songs.
No, honestly, I had them downloaded on files on my phone, but I couldn't listen to the album in order without having, like manually skipping along, which is really annoying.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was in New York when that happened. I remember we were on the way to see the Brooklyn Bridge, and we went to see it for sunrise. So it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, And then when we got there, it was raining so much that one, we were all freezing and soaked, and two, we didn't even see the sunrise. So that's just a side note. But the song came out
Coming
that
soon,
day.
Ed Webster's new album, Cold, Soaked, and Didn't Even See the Sunrise.
Cold soaked on Brooklyn Bridge. Actually, kind of slaps. But yeah, so I was on the subway on the way there, and I was like posting all the stories and stuff about it. But yeah, that's my idea of promotion: is a story day of that's like, oh yeah, this is here. Realistically, it needs to do more, but I just hate it with a passion. So
Yeah.
I need to figure that one out at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I was tasked with the album art.
Yeah.
And I made lots of lovely designs. But in the end, I think you made the right decision. You just did you come up with this as an idea, or did you have the photo first? The photo for anyone who's not seen it is, just a pair of Ed's Converse with this really nice tea light in, and it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I kind of was sort of it got to the point where I was uploading all the tracks on my computer, and I kind of forgotten about the album art. I was like, cool, yep, doing all this. And I was uploading all the because you upload the tracks first, and lyrics comes like later on, after you've already uploaded them. But then it was like picture of the album. I started looking at it like, I don't have a clue. So I sort of looked around my room. I saw my shoes and I saw candles, and I was like, this could be something. And then I took the pictures, and then sort of photoshopped it a little bit in terms of like, I think it's just like brightness settings and contrast or whatever. I'm not a photography person, but I moved some dials, and then yeah, it came out really, really nicely. And it's weird because for something so impromptu, I feel like it sums up the tone of the album quite well.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is what we were looking for, because mine were all fairly like, sort of. This is a bit of a compilation album of your years doing music. You know, the last 3 years doing music. That was sort of a lot of what my designs end up being, and I think this encapsulates what it is a lot better.
Yeah, I think I remember I had the idea of there was an idea I had a while ago for because I just quite like the idea of the candles. I like the way the candlelight looks anyway. I had an idea to sort of be holding a candle like in my hand and having the wax like coming down over my hand, and that sort of being in a dark room, and that being the album cover.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it just never got around to being done. And then I was also kind of I didn't want hot wax burning me, so there was that as well.
Not willing to do it for the art. Terrible.
I'm that dedicated to the art. It's part of me. I'm an artist. Didn't you know? No, but it was yeah. So it's just sort of thrown together, but it just ended up looking really, really nice. And it's also just again, it's that thing of being in the dark and the light just sort of reflecting so nicely. It's just sort of
I mean, I remember when I heard it, when I saw it. I think maybe I was on a call with Robbie. I forget. But I think he sent me it, and I thought it was for icebergs, or maybe you sent it in the group chat, something like that. And I just thought it was for icebergs, because I sort of saw it, and I was like, that looks like an iceberg, and then above it looks like the Aurora Borealis, and then we looked and it was the whole album, and that was exciting.
yeah.
But even just from that perspective, I think it's just it works really nicely. It's got the wide-eyed starry eyes on the Converse logo. It's got the icebergs, Aurora Borealis.
It's also
at twilight.
Oh yeah, it was all so thought through.
Frostbite, because Converse famously provides zero warmth.
Yeah, and they're white, which is snow.
Yeah.
Nobody knocked whilst I was taking the picture, which is
no.
Disappointingly,
you didn't release Dawnbreak as a single.
No.
When you released Floating, given the story you just told us, but I'll let bygones be bygones.
Yeah, it's fine. I yeah, that that would have made more sense. With it being at sunrise and all, but it's I just kind of sick of the singles at that point. We only did two because I was kind of just wanted to get it done and out because it had just been so long at this point, so long. I remember having, I remember I called Robbie when I was in on this like beach in Vietnam, like on the south coast, because we cycled. We were doing like cycling whilst we were there, and it's after this really long day of cycling, and I was absolutely knackered. And I was lying on this wall next to this beach on the phone. I'm talking about the album, and I was like, all right, "We're almost there. We're almost there." And then obviously, because America was so busy, we then had like another 4 months of it just not coming out. Uh, but yeah, I'm so glad it's done
Yeah,
at
I
this
mean,
point.
I do like to categorize albums as winter or summer albums, and I do feel like this is a winter album anyway.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. It's definitely sort of dark, but not in a. I mean, some of the songs are quite tonally dark, but it's much more of like a dark in a cozy way.
Mm.
Like you're sat in front of a fire. Um, that's how I think of it. It's very much like so one of the influences, and definitely from on Robbie's end, was Radical Face, and
Mm.
those albums just feel like awesome through and through. It is just awesome,
Yeah, it's
and
particularly on Wide Eyed, that isn't it?
yeah, because you two were just slapping bits of wood, um, to get
Listen,
there's
what
like
goes on
percussive.
between me and Robbie is mine and Robbie's business.
What happens in Robbie's house stays in Robbie's house. Um, yeah, the so Nathan did all the drums on the album, which sound incredible. But the idea for Wide Eyed originally was not to have drums; it was just to have the percussive sounds, like slapping wood and like there's like I have a guitar case, um, that we've played with a few times, like actual gigs. And maybe you had it,
Mm.
as like a kick drum once, and we are gonna use that and stuff. But then weirdly, it just sounds good on top of the drums. There's like a like a flourish rather than the main
Yeah.
percussive element. So it was nice to sort of have that in. It definitely feels a lot like that. It makes it feel more wintry and autumny as well.
Yeah. So, what's next?
That is a great question. Um, well, I've got some songs. I've got three or four written since the album came out. I've not had that much time to write, and I was kind of like immediately afterwards, I was kind of tired with just music. I just wanted to, I was working and stuff. And then I went away, so I didn't have really that much time to write. So I've only got three or four since we started recording it. But I'm writing more now, and I think we're gonna do more of like single releases rather than whole albums this time, and just do them as and when they come, and try and get them out semi regularly. But that's the idea, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, how has being away sort of impacted your view for the future in terms of your musical work?
I don't. It's definitely given me in terms of writing. I think it's changed because I've sort of changed my perspective of things. I've changed the things I've seen. Like I've seen more stuff in different places, and in terms of music going forwards, I don't know sort of to what extent it's going to be pursued, but I think I'm going to definitely keep making it as long as I can. Um, and I'd love to do some more live performances and get back into that because it's been really quite a long time since I played live. So if I can get back into that and stuff around Manchester, that'd be amazing. And
Yeah,
then the world tour after that, I think, fairly promptly.
that's it. You've already done a bit of a world tour.
That's true. Yeah, we did. We toured England
Toured
that
England.
time.
You played in wherever you were, Massachusetts.
What?
Is that not where you were?
I was, but I didn't play.
You played a bit. You just didn't. Not live.
What? I did. It's not. It's not. I did play the guitar whilst I was there. I don't think it counts as a concert
Listen,
or a live gig. I think it quite counts.
a concert is where the heart is. I think it's the phrase.
It's definitely a phrase. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. Have you got any more stories? Words of wisdom? Any final message you'd like to leave about the album or anything else?
Listen to it, please and thank you. It's very good. A lot of people have put a lot of time into this, so give it a listen. And then if you don't like it, listen to it again to find out where you don't like it, and then just listen to it a third time until you do like it. And then if you do like it, listen to it again because you like it. That is my wisdom.
It's wise words from Ed Webster. Yeah, I mean, thank you very much for coming on. Yeah, we'll leave a link to the album in the description. And yeah, everyone should go give it a listen. Thank you. That was Quiet Conversations with Ed Webster.